Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Mind Behind, Make More, Work Less. Hi, my name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Unlocking the Mind, we talk about another cognitive bias. And the reason why we do this is so that we can better understand how we make decisions, how our minds work. Sometimes we can even avoid certain cognitive traps. This way, we should be able to protect ourselves, also build better relationships, make stronger decisions, and also negotiate better as well in business. Now, for today's Unlocking the Mind, we're going to be talking about selection bias. So what exactly is selection bias? Well, have you ever gone to a situation where you created something, you wrote a book or you made a new recipe and you wanted to find out if people are going to like this or not? How do you choose who you're gonna be testing it on? How do you choose who you're going to be asking about whether they not like it or not? And how do you know if that's a good representation of people liking your product or your services or the food that you made? Well, there comes selection bias. And the thing is, we need to be able to avoid selection bias when we do something like that. So we can actually understand that the numbers that we're getting in, the data that's coming in is actually relevant. Because if it's not relevant and it's not representing the group that we want to actually target, then we might make really, really bad decisions. So for instance, if somebody was an app developer and they just create this amazing app for their phone and go, you know what, this is going to be the best app in the world. Everybody's going to use it. You know what? All my colleagues will say it's good. All my team members says it's good. Everybody who's worked on this app says it's amazing. It's easy to use. It's something that you can use every single time. And the thing is, everybody needs to use this. And everybody they asked is either somebody that has worked on the project, is somebody that's very close to them, who has a good knowledge on applications, or somebody who's within that industry that's tried it out. What they didn't ask is the people who actually are going to be using it, the users, the end users. So what happened was they actually released the product, and then turns out that lots of people don't want to buy it because actual users found it confusing. Actual users found it hard to use. Actual users were actually not able to do certain things that they wanted, found little glitches here and there. And the thing is, because they were not in that selection of people to test this product on, the developers didn't actually have a good sample size of data to actually make the right decisions to make that product. So the thing is, that is selection bias. By picking a selected group of people that you know have a good idea as to what they're going to be doing with the app and who knows how to use it, who knows that they'll like it, well, then you're going to get a group of people who's going to say it's going to be absolutely awesome. Now, that's very similar to real estate as well. If you go and ask the owner, so how did you come up with this price for your property? Well, they'll say, well, all the comparables say that the price for this property is going to be $500,000. Well, that's because they chose a whole bunch of comparables that fit exactly the same style or the same type of property that they have, and the same timeline, and everything's the same, that matches exactly what they need, and therefore it's $500,000. But it's not a representation of the entire market. So what the entire market might show is maybe it's worth more, about $400,000 or 450. The thing is, because they're so selective of which comparables to use, that changes what the price of that house is going to be. So from a real estate point of view, if you go and ask for comparables, you have to ask for a good selection that represents what you're actually looking for. And the thing is, when you're comparing your numbers to somebody else's, you might want to ask them, how did you come up with this number? Or how did I come up with this number? Or how do we pick the right properties to come and represent the right market or right target that we're actually looking for? So when it comes to real estate, that's very, very important, because you don't want to fall into a selection bias and pay too much for a property if you don't want to. Very similarly, when people go to the movies, before that movie comes out, it goes through a screening process. Now, if you were a person who just finished creating a movie for kids, would you do a selection of only kids, or would you go find a selection of kids and teenagers and adults to give you a review of what that whether or not that movie was good or not? You will probably find a whole bunch of kids to make sure that most of the kids like it. Now, if most of the kids don't like it, then you know you have to tweak something. But if you were to select a whole bunch of adults to give you a review on this kids movie, then you probably won't get a good representation of as to what the reviews are going to be for your movie. So that is selection bias. So what do? We have to make sure that in within the target that we want to hit, we want to get a good sample size, a good random sample size, so we're not cherry picking certain individuals or certain demographics, so that we know what kind of outcomes we're going to get. And the other thing is, we just have to sometimes ask those questions. How did you come up with that number? How did you come up with that review? How did you come up with that decision? Based on what data? And that's how we're able to avoid falling into a selection bias situation. So that is selection bias. I hope you enjoyed this episode on unlocking the mind. And if you did, please go back on and watch on some of my other episodes on cognitive biases and on unlocking the mind. And if you like this show, please like, subscribe, and follow. We have a lot of other shows: the Peak Potential Success Show, the Make More Mind Bites, and also the Master Mind Bites. That's up every single week. So until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.